everybody. This is Kinga, and I am the founder of Execute Your Intentions, and I am here with my good friend, Michelle Filing. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
And I wanted to introduce you to her. We have been friends. How long has it been? It's
I
been
It's been a hot minute, right? It's been it has to be. Are we going on 5 years?
it has been at least that long. And I did say your last name right.
It's filling,
Feeling
piling,
feeling
it's all the same. Potato, potato.
Okay, so good. All right, she's also from Austin. So the story with Michelle and I is that we are both in Austin, Texas. For those of you that are not, you've got to come because you're probably coming for South by Southwest or one of the events that we're having because we're
Right.
always having events here. And so Michelle and I are good friends. And if Margot ends up joining us, we were out shopping and she was at Neiman. And I was like, I think my friend Michelle, who I haven't seen in a long time, is going to be out. And she works here. Turn around, and there she is, of course. So we were like, oh my gosh, we've got to catch up. And I asked her to come and be on this show.
Absolutely. And I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me, Kinga.
I'm so happy because we have such a long history. So when we started catching up, you started to tell me, blew my mind what you came up with. First of all, when I first met you, you were working at a company. And since then, you made two massive, massive jumps in the industry that you're in. We had completely different career paths. And yet, in the past 2 years, I feel like you have taken two big revolutionary jumps. So, I'd love for you to do a little bit of an introduction into the type of work that you do
Sure.
and how you have just taken these large leaps of faith in yourself and revolutionized, reinvented yourself.
Well, let's see. Let's start with the fact that I am in aesthetics. So, what that means to everybody is that I handle the beauty on the outside, which then helps with the inner beauty, right? Makes us feel really good about ourselves. So, I do facials, I do laser, I do microneedling, I do injectables. Again, I do everything with a purpose, and so therefore, I practice incredibly gently and to enhance what my clients' facial expressions look like. So I'm not out there to make you look like a Muppet, but I am making you out there to look beautiful and feel your very, very best. With that being said, let's see, Kinga, since it's been a lot. So yeah, I transitioned out of the med spa into creating my own company. So I run my own clinic doing the things I just stated. And then recently, within the last 3 months, I decided that I needed to jump into the aesthetic school industry. And I think that's my biggest leap of faith right there is that I am ready to revolutionize the industry. We are just not a, well, let me back up. We are a female majority when it comes to working aesthetics. We're mostly females. However, I don't see enough support amongst females, and
Mhm.
so therefore I'm ready to revolutionize that. I'm the way we think, the way we act, the way we nurture each other. I really do believe that if we all just work together and had that one common goal, we would be able to make such a huge footprint in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm hoping that everyone will be right behind me and help me make this footprint just gigantic. A huge
Yeah.
wave, right? We
Yeah.
want a big wave, a big ripple that will just float right through the industry and bring all of my other colleagues on board.
Yeah. So just to kind of get it out there around what you're actually doing, right? For those of us that might not really quite get what is it that's different, because I think there's like so much significance, right? Like behind what we're talking about, because I know you well enough to understand that there's like some really cool stuff that's happening that we're kind of, I don't know that you're giving yourself quite enough credit for here.
Well, thank you.
Okay. So, what Michelle is actually doing, for those of you, is that she is taking this, if we look at the way that um, people maybe get their certifications. I have lots of friends, hopefully they will see this at some point, that have spent a lot of their time and energy going through the beauty industry or aesthetics industry, getting all kinds of very, very expensive certifications. So correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I don't know how much people can spend in that med spa space, but throughout their lifetimes, quite a bit, right? And you have to stay on top of that technology, right? And so it can just become kind of a financial and time suck, right? And so right now, what you're doing is you're filling a gap, and you're doing something that's so revolutionary for really not just the industry, but also for the community, right? And so that's why you're so passionate. The name of your company, this new company in Austin,
Mhm.
um, Beauty Solutions,
Yes. So
right?
beauty solutions. So it's all about bringing soul back into this industry. And King is absolutely correct. Right now, to go through an aesthetic school, you're looking at about anywhere between 9 and 17,000 here in Austin or in Texas. So it is a lot of dough. And not to mention, a lot of schools are private, and so, therefore, these young ladies and gentlemen are having to pay this out of pocket, or go get a loan. And financial aid is not available. Now, there are definitely some schools out there that are established that have that financial aid and can help their students. But even so, I don't say this word lightly, but schools in Texas have been labeled as predatory. And that is not just Texas. There's plenty of states out there that are like that. And what that means to me as an industry professional is that schools are not necessarily delivering the education that these students need to not just get out there and use their license, but be successful.
Mhm.
So the statistics of the estheticians that go into the industry and actually survive and make it are maybe about 5 to 10%. And I'm here to tell you a lot of it is just because they don't feel like they have enough experience or the right skill set to go out there and create this imprint that I talk about.
Yeah.
And that's where Beauty Solutions comes in, because I really feel that I can bring that compassion and empathy back into this world or into this industry. And I can give them what they need. Not to mention, again, going with what Kinga said, to give a little bit more credit, because I am quite humble, we are going to be adding opportunities for internships. So that is my goal. I've always used this phrase, the homeless esthetician. And this doesn't mean they don't have a home, but they don't have a home to practice. And so that is my biggest push for this school, is to have a place for them to go when they're done with school. So they're not having to worry about who's going to take me, who's not going to take me, how am I going to pay my bills, what happens if I want to go out on my own, who's going
Yeah.
to hold my hand, who's going to help me through this, because it is a very lonely industry if you don't have the right help.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much right now, every industry feels lonely if you don't have the right help. And so we're talking about this all the time. And you've kind of got this instinct to just want to make a difference in these people's lives. And you see this gap and you're like, I know what to do. I know what to do. And I remember sitting down with you and we're kind of just looking at each other going, yeah, I want to make a difference. And you go, well, go do it. I don't really care what anyone else is doing. I'm just going to go fill that need. And when you see something that you understand how to fill that need, and you understand also that there is risk and responsibility with doing that,
Right.
but that you're skilled and you're mature enough to do it because you've been through it, and that there's something that you can do to pass that on,
Right.
right? And that you care so much about doing that. So I love that this is part of it. So let's get a little bit more into the space that you're creating, right? So, oh, of course, my cat always likes to say hello.
I love
It's her thing. So when we think about, this space and this vision, and what's the experience that you want your students to have? That I kind of, I guess, you painted something in my mind that was pretty cool. It's beautiful. You're very creative here.
Yeah. I think we and you, Kinga, we talked about, so I'm going to be moving into a 2,500 square foot space, which I think is pretty generous for starting off.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we talked about the different rooms, right? So I have a beautiful private hallway, which I'm going to be able to decorate and make it very welcoming. And then we've got, of course, our classroom, we've got our clinical floor, and then we'll have the spa. So with the classroom, it's a very bright and vibrant vibe. So we want to make sure that we've got like magenta pink, right? And some really bright neon orange and great sayings that are motivating and pushing everybody to feel comfortable and accepted. It's completely open space. I think I told you that one of my favorite pictures that I'm putting in there or posters has this really great saying about how, I hope the bridges that you burn light the way, because that's what we're getting ready to do. I know that I'm going to shake the industry and,
Hmm.
excuse the expression, but piss off a lot of people because
Hmm.
we're bringing a lot of things to light. But I know that this is the way to get things done and to make this industry so much better. So
Right.
that's the classroom. Then we go into clinical floor, and this is a very, very unique take on it. So typically when you go into clinical floor, it is just like that, right? Sounds super clinical, white, clean, sanitary. Well, it's
Yep.
still going to have that vibe. Obviously, we have to for state regulations. However, I'm going to be having the pump up vibe in there. So, we're going to have awesome wallpaper that anybody who is our age will understand. It's going to have cassette tapes all over the
Mhm.
wall, right? And the idea is that I want them to come in, create a jukebox, and create all of their favorite tunes that give them that pump up vibe. Something that makes them feel like they can really move the world. And so that's
Right.
what we'll be doing every single day. And it's gonna, again, it takes down that stress level, because when you get into the clinical floor and you're starting to touch students and other students, because those are your models, or maybe friends and family. Kinga might be going in there and getting a facial too. I invite all of you guys to be my models as well. But it's really intense. You're brand new at this. You're like, what happens if I touch the skin wrong? What happens if it's not comfortable? What happens? What happens? What happens? And so I just want to take that down a notch where there's not so much stress, so we can actually focus on what we're doing. And again, that laid back feeling makes everyone feel comfortable, allows them to ask the right questions, and just gives them, again, that space to create, because we're artists in this
Right.
industry. And then we'll go into the spa. I told you this one is kind of the heart of beauty solutions. And the spa is going to give us the ambiance of, if I could do facials outside, that's what we would be in. So it's going to be very dark, but only lit by very soft yellow light. Everything just very gentle, earth sounds, meditative sounds, just beautiful. So again, inviting for everybody to feel safe and comfortable. And I'm just trying to create a space where my students feel like if they never want to leave, that's okay. I'm going to have a place for them.
And so, isn't that's a kind of a big part of this, right? Is that as students, you're teaching them actually this business acumen. And then it's like, if they can't, if they want to, they could stay there. If they want to start their own business, they could go off and launch their own business. And so you're really creating kind of a transition plan for people for life, right? And so that feels like it's kind of this, it's an intern into life, right? Transition, which is just a really safe environment. And when we think about generations, we have to we have to adapt as well, right? Are you seeing a shift in that just across the board? Because I know we talk about this on LinkedIn a lot. Are you seeing that as well in your industry? Kind of the
Absolutely.
way, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just with my soft advertising of the school and, the coming soon, you'd be surprised how many people I'm like, hey, let me send you the brochures, let me send you the website, let me just get you acquainted with what I'm trying to put out there. I've even encouraged my current, you know, seekers, go out, check out the other schools, tell me what is different.
Yeah.
And they all are seeking out that personal connection, meaning 90% of them are like, no, thank you. I'm going to this school because it's you. I'm going to this school because I know you and I want to learn from you. It's again, it goes back to that whole thing where people work with people, right? People buy from people. People people do best when they're with their own kind. And I've been told, I mean, I've been teaching for the last 5 to 6 years, and most of my students are usually like, when are you opening your own space so I can come work for you?
Right.
When are you going to do more classes? What other classes can you do? It's funny because as a client, Kinga, you can chime in and say this, but most of my clients come in for one thing, and then because they can't get enough, they're like, what
Right.
else do you do? There's got to be more
Yeah.
time for us to spend together.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm creating the school and I create the studio.
Yeah.
It's through finding our own secret sauce.
Mhm.
That's what it is. I find my secret sauce, and my clients and my students totally dig it.
Right. Well, it's true because I think it doesn't matter what industry you're in, those values that you have, that's always been our bonding point. And so let's talk about your company values. I'm going to actually switch to that slide that we have because it's just so relevant, right? When you sent it to me, I was like, this is us. These are the conversations that we have all the time. I don't know if it's might be difficult for us to see. Can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. There we go. Oh, no, that's not a good view. No, that's not one either. That one? Which one? Which one did I have? There we go. No, that's not good either. Which one? I'm still learning my
That's good. I
that's a
like
good
that.
one. That's a good one. All
That's
right.
a good one.
Yeah. So when I was taking a look at this, and I was like, integrity, empowerment. It's all about self-expression and love, and all these things. And I was like, of course. So let's talk through like how did you? It seems obvious, right? But did it take you a while to kind of come up with this? And let's talk about this for a second.
So this has been stewing at the bottom of my heart for a very long time. I would have to say at least 6 plus years. I think when I first got into doing little, mini introduction classes in aesthetics, I knew that this was my passion and I knew what needed to be done. I just wasn't really sure how to do it. So I then started building it. Then I went through school, and while a lot of my classmates were goofing off doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, I was in my little nook plotting how I was going to take over the world. And
Mhm.
so I did a lot of this during school, which I think was by far the smartest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Because even coming out of school, so let me back up here. So what I do in aesthetics, most of it, I have to have what's called a medical director. So I have to be guided and by and directed by an actual doctor in the industry. And so I knew that if I wanted to really dig into this, I was going to have to seek one out because I didn't have one yet. And I, I'm here to tell you, most students coming out of school who acquire or desire to do what I'm doing, um, they usually don't get to do it for a good 5 years because no doctor is going to take you underneath their wing just
Yeah.
fresh out of school. By the grace of God and all my hard work, Kinga, I was able to put in an application for a medical director and I was able to land one. So fresh out of school, I was able to land one. And I think I shocked myself, to be very honest. But it was, it was a very, very, very bright light that told me that everything that I'd been doing was finally coming together.
Yeah.
So that's how that came to be. But I think the root of this also came from my experience in school. So, I'm not going to go into it and too much because I don't want to reveal too much either, right? We got to try to keep it where no one comes after me. But the truth of the matter is that we were a relatively large class. I want to say there was like maybe 26 of us, 21, 26 of us, something like that. But anyways, from what I know, Kinga, only 7 or 8 of us survived. So
Wow.
that means that is all out of my class that is out actually practicing. And we're probably the only ones that have truly made it this long. So we're coming out of, so what? Yeah, almost 5 years, and we're the only ones surviving. I mean, at the same
Yeah.
time, this goes back to the schools. They don't always, they're not always willing to jump in and say there's disruptions and there's things that are going on that shouldn't be going on, and it's just very disruptive.
Mhm.
It's hard for us to learn, it's hard for us to get done what we need to get done. We have 750 hours to do. And going back to that whole idea of camaraderie, right, being a community, it's so important for us to be there for one another.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't happening. So that gives you a really clear depiction of what school is like. Other things that I hear about schools, again, as I've taught for a really long time, is they tell you things like it feels like high school, lots of cliques, like you got to be careful, who you talk to and who you share things with, because they're always there to take your ideas. And just really, it's just like, really, most of us are adults going through this, so it's kind of interesting when you hear these things, but I'm here to tell you it's real. um,
Yeah.
I went into school already having a background in beauty, so I had definitely the upper hand. I had already gone through laser school, so I was a laser technician. Um, and this got out to the students because I'm very well known here in Austin.
Mhm.
And I had a hard time getting sign offs. If you could believe it, a lot of the women in my class would not sign off with me because they were so afraid of,
Yeah.
I guess maybe the fact that I already have experience, like how I would feel, what would I say? So they would always ask me to come in and be the sign off for them. But when I asked them to help me with sign off, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
So there's things like that that
Yeah.
I definitely went through, that the challenges that made me step up and say, these are things that can't be if we're spending anywhere from, like I told you, right, 9,000 to 17,000. Like there needs to be better support in the
Right.
school. It
Right.
needs to be taken seriously. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
How can we expect to take it seriously if no one else takes it seriously?
Right. You're right. I mean, we're just not meant to kind of get through some of this stuff alone. And we talk about this all the time. It's like there's and you know, whether it's project management or self-organizing systems or teams or whatever, but there's family systems, and there was ways that we kind of had this tribal mentality, and society is just shifting. It just is, right? And now our sense of community is shifting, and that just is. And so how do we create something? And when we and education is a huge part of a transition, a very significant maturing transition that you go through and evolve in. And you know, it's definitely something where you would like some trust and nurturing, and having somebody look out for you. And so I think that especially when you've had that missing, you know, that support missing and stuff, you know, you really think, at least for me, and I think that's what something we bonded over was, wow, I want to make sure that others don't miss out on that.
Right. Right. And I mean, like any industry, everything is for profit, right? Everything's
Mhm.
for profit. So, uh, by again, the grace of God, I've had great mentors and I've worked for really incredible companies that have given me the opportunity to go through the right training. But not everybody has that type of money. You know, we have a company called AmSpa that supports the industry. Great, great company. However, it's collaborated by, I want to say, at least 8 um, lawyers in our industry that specifically hone in on aesthetics, so they know all the laws across the US. But the membership is incredibly expensive. Again, not saying it's not worth it, it is worth it, but I mean, we're when you're going into this industry and you're trying to figure out where you're supposed to put all your pieces, you know, it's nice to know that you can get some of this
Mhm.
for a very low economical price.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm doing with Beauty Solutions. I think I told you, Kinga, when I decided to kind of put it together, this is what I said with the studio too, was you have a choice, right? You can either make it Walmart, Target, or Nordstrom's. And I have always decided to go with Target. Target's clean. They give you the highest quality, you know, product. And you don't feel like you're missing out. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And I think that's where you and I bonded too, as you know, a client and as a service provider, is
Right.
that I really do value every penny that my clients give to me, whether you're a student or a client.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it is just the way that we kind of nurture one another, right?
Mhm.
You know, I never want to feel like I'm taking advantage of somebody, and I never, you know, it's like it doesn't feel good when some you might think that somebody feels that they've been taken advantage of. So that's just the way it feels, you know, the the best. So the best kinds of relationships. So the other day when I called you, I was all upset about something, and you made me feel so much better. And it was a situation where I had just, you know, shared with somebody an idea. And it was kind of like casual conversation where I thought I was walking into a casual conversation. And then all of a sudden I was being kind of found myself defending a position on something, right? And this woman, I felt like you know, was really kind of interrogating me, and I was like, gosh, that it just feels yuck, you know. And you start to question yourself because and then I was like, yeah, but if that had happened and I was around, I would have said, you know, why are you not cheering someone like on and looking for the positive in their idea rather than just poking holes in it, right?
Right.
And but I couldn't see that for myself in the moment, but I was kind of feeling it. It's that feeling, and you immediately picked up on it, and it just was exactly what I needed to hear, right? So I think that, like, from your experience, how much of that kind of stuff do you hear throughout your day? And is that, I feel like that has to be a lot of what is pulling you and driving you. And, it just feels like so much of what, when we see each other, we're like, oh, I get it. I understand why you do what you do.
Right. I hear it a lot. I mean, I'm for those of you who maybe don't hear it all the time, we are not just skin therapists, we are also therapists. um, but we're great listeners as well. I think that's a really strong suit of mine as an esthetician and as a person. I'm a very good listener. And I've always loved to make people feel good. I mean, I don't think there's been a time that I didn't. I mean, I think that it's a way of having some transparency, and I've always been a very transparent person. But yes, I do hear it a lot, and I hear things that are really so incredibly um uplifting as well, like yay Michelle for president. When I'm able to lift somebody up. And so I mean that's what I'm trying to do, right? I'm kind of
Mhm.
going in there and I'm trying to push myself to the top as the president of the aesthetics world. I think I told you, Kinga, this is only the beginning. I could see myself being a secondary school at some point and opening and being able to go into community colleges. I really do believe this is the future. It's putting soul back into the industry.
So, what would happen if we don't do initiatives like this? Like, let's say people like you don't exist, and what do you think would happen? Where would we head?
Well, I think first of all, my industry eventually would come to an end. There's already been quite a bit of initiatives to go through the Texas Department of License and Regulations about getting rid of licenses for estheticians. So things would become unregulated.
Oh,
And that could be incredibly scary. But the
wow.
truth of the matter is it's really hard to regulate my industry because of just so many things, people not keeping up with their licenses, people doing business out of their home, people thinking that they can go through YouTube University and offer treatments, just all willy nilly. The truth of the matter is that most of us could go out and get a lease, right? A rental property and start
Yeah,
doing treatments immediately without even showing anybody our license. Um, and if we don't start pulling together, that's where that's going to break us because with us splitting apart and competing against each other and not working with each other, with these schools being predatory, that's another thing. That's a bill that was getting ready to go through from Biden, where he was actually getting ready to go after private schools. That's not just beauty schools, but that's any school that's private. And that's just because they're not fulfilling their duties to get these estheticians or any student up to speed where they need to get out of school, pay their debt, and also make a living. There's a lot of things that could crumble if we don't come together as a community.
yeah,
It's something that needs to be done, and I'm ready to do my half.
yeah, yeah. It sounds like, well, more than a half. It sounds like you jump in and do a lot. So, I mean, I feel like that's just a running theme on so many topics around, if like we're relying, or we make assumptions around where the government might protect us or not. And when I'm doing research, it's around whether it's cybersecurity or the use of AI, or around like any kind of legal protection or identity protection, and just everything. And so it starts to help us realize that in business, and in life, in so many ways, we're vulnerable, right? And I think that this is where ethical and responsible leadership has just started to really come up as an important topic. And there's tons of questions around, like, what does it mean, and how do we define it? And I think what's important is that we start opening a lot of these conversations. They're just, I don't feel like they're happening often enough. Um, and that's just a really unfortunate thing, because there's opportunity for us to start examining a lot of these topics and go, well, is there even a law, or are we protected? Do we even know? And I think that so often we just don't dig into things, and we just don't even know. Like, there's so many rabbit holes that I have gone down in the past year that I was like, I just thought I was looking one thing up, and the next thing I know, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just keep learning and learning. So we're in a very, very rapid rate of change right now. Um, do you feel like people around us understand, like, how fast things are moving? Um, are you experiencing that?
I think it has a lot to do, Kinga, where you are in present time, right? Like for me, I'm in a mostly female based work environment every single day, and I'm surrounded by 21 amazing women. And I'm able to share this every single day, and I think that makes a huge difference. It makes a difference.
Mhm,
They get to see me practicing what I preach,
mhm,
and they see where I'm going.
mhm.
And most of them are like, all right, Michelle, are you ready to have the largest front desk team ever? And I'm thinking, sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's really what it is. It's just,
yeah,
I think people not only need to hear it, they need to see it. And
yeah.
then when they see it, they're like, I get it. And this is the way of the world. This is the new wave.
Okay, so we're gonna get real. There was somebody you were having issues with.
Boy, you really did get real.
So, I mean, we do have people that we have to work around,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Right.
So, and that we're kind of like, I don't know that this person's going to change, right?
And we can't make them change.
And
We
we
can't make them
can't make them change.
We can't make them change. All you can do, right, is do what our parents taught us, and you kill them with kindness.
But
Right?
not always, right? Like, and we can't just kill everyone with kindness, because that's
No.
not going to fix our
I
problems
mean,
and some problems.
I will tell you, King has never seen this side of me, but if there's anybody watching or listening who's known me for a while, I can definitely get fiery. But
They know me, don't worry.
again, it's about transparency. So it's always about just
Yeah.
nailing the facts and just being graceful about it, because it's never easy to have to pinpoint or point out
And
people's faults. But no, I'm serious. I mean, I think just practicing what you preach, showing them that, listen, this is me and I'm not going to back down. This is my stance, and like me for who I am, or don't like me. That's really
right.
your choice. But I'm doing something right, and you're not.
Well, but there is a point where we have to feel like we stand in our conviction,
We
right?
have to. We have to.
And
If not, they're going to walk all over us.
right.
And
And
it's
protecting what you think is the right thing to do, and
right.
feeling like you're living in integrity.
At the same
Right.
time, it lights the fire underneath your rear end. So
If Jen Lynn is on here, I hope she's paying attention, because that's exactly what she said just a couple hours.
I feel like this individual or individuals are the reason for me taking this big step, or these big steps, is that
Oh, I wasn't even talking about
oh, I was like, but that's it. That's the truth. The truth is that sometimes those type of experiences
Oh
push
my
you
goodness.
in the right direction.
That's
And
so funny. I'm
I guess
actually,
maybe I should applaud them.
this is hilarious.
I'll give them their tiny little piece of the cookie. There it is. Just a crumb.
No, I'm talking about the conversation.
I'm like,
Different.
we've had too many
We
conversations
have
with
had.
too
We
many
have
people.
had. Oh goodness. Anyway, so this is hilarious. I'm having such a great time with you. And this is what you have to do. You have to also laugh because people are people. We are totally flawed. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like and I talk about this a lot because well, I talk about it sometimes just, typing and wherever, but like the idea of disrupt and repair. So I oftentimes do react if I am upset about something, and then I am also still there, right? Like I make a point of, like, sometimes I might walk away from a situation, but generally I can forgive and forget and things like that. And I do think that there's appropriate times where people make amends too. Like, when there are people who have done something that they should ask for some forgiveness or things like that. Like, it's kind of like when somebody messes, up. You don't believe somebody's sorry unless you kind of make things right. And I think that what we want is to feel like things are getting better. And as a project manager, when I would have a cycle, and what we would do is do an entire year cycle, planning cycle. We'd break it down into quarters, and I'd even break it down into weeks. And this is kind of the agile methodology that we worked within for software development planning, and then really within tech companies. But we had a reflective meeting that we called a retrospective, and the goal of that meeting at certain points, and then we'd also do it after initiatives and things like that. What I mean by we would be, I would be annoying and say, hey, we need to have one. But um, the whole point was, hey, things didn't go great. It didn't go exactly the way we wanted it to go. Let's come up with a couple action items that we commit to as a group so that we don't have to experience this again in the negative way that we experienced it. That's it. It wasn't about finger pointing. It wasn't about doing anything that was, but that was it. It was just so that, like, we don't have to experience the bad parts again.
Right.
That is genuinely an opportunity to not go through the bad part again. That's it, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, somewhat becomes contentious because, but if you really try to stay focused on that, what actions can we do? Then people take more ownership of coming up with, well, I guess I could have been more proactive, which is really where you want to be, right? A
Right.
more conscious society, a more conscious group of one another, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's ultimately where we always come to, where you can have grace for one another.
Right. Agreed. 100%.
So that's, I'll get off my soapbox about that, but you and I both love our soapboxes. So.
We do.
Oh gosh. So I am so excited. I have many of my friends that joined us tonight, so they must have known that you were very special. So say hi to, I'm going to pop up some of my favorites here. Yay. I've got Nick. So I have to say hi to Nick and Dr. Tanya.
Hi, Dr. Tanya.
And we have LinkedIn user. I bet you that's Damien. We have Willie J.
Hi.
We just released a book. I have two books out. I thought that they would be right here, but maybe I cleared my space. Sometimes I need a nice clear space, but I have two books out right now. One with Willie J, which is Winning with Love. I think I probably sent you the cover for that one, as in the link, as well as with Nick as my publisher. So People First Platform. It's one of the anthologies of a trilogy that she did. So we've been super busy. We also have Randy. So you're making lots of new friends. Oh, Steven, there we go. So we have lots of people that joined us. So awesome. All right. So, so you are in Austin, and how can people like, oh, I want you to talk a little bit more before we go about the scholarship, because
Oh,
that story, I think that people would be really like, it's just really moved me. And I also think that, before we kind of go about Austin, since we do have a lot of people that come to Austin throughout the year. So I think that a lot of people that will be visiting for South by Southwest and all the events that we have
sure,
going on
sure.
will need to come visit you.
Yeah.
So,
So let's talk about the scholarship. So it's the Angel Scholarship, and it is being made in honor of my late friend, Jenny Winfrey. She was my SD bestie and our SD sister. And we met with her journey coming out of school. I was actually attending a career fair at her school, and I'll just never forget, so incredibly lively. She ran towards the booth, just hands up in the air. I've been waiting for you all week. I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to work for you. And she was like, "Where's the application?" I've just never met somebody so incredibly lively. I was working for a very new spa in Round Rock, and I didn't think anybody would know who we were. So when I saw that, gorgeous face smiling and just so excited, it excited me. She ended up being the greatest, hardest working esthetician I've ever met. So, with that being said, I am going to be giving an Angel Scholarship to one student every semester. And our semesters run just about every 5 to 6 months. And I'm going to be joined by her parents, who will also be helping me to honor our winner. So I really look forward to doing that, and helping people, again, just go through this beautiful experience without having hardships.
it's so awesome that I mean, so touched that you are like continuously just giving, giving, giving. It's so representative of who you are, because you're not even, your focus remains on who you're serving. And I know you're not on LinkedIn much, but for those of us that are on here often, and we're doing a lot of social media, we that's pretty much all people talk about is like, your focus on your client. And it's so clear that your clients are the only thing that you really care about, and making sure that they're just so well taken care of and nurtured, and just loved on. And that's, really what we all want and need, and truly what's gonna, I think, make a difference in the world. And I'm so proud to be friends with you, and so appreciative that I get to be in your circle, and glad that I ran into you, because it
Yeah.
just absolutely warms my heart. I
Right
was
back at you.
hoping,
Absolutely. This is
yeah.
It's beautiful. And again, we need the community. This is what the school is all about. It's about bringing the community together. So I'm grateful to have Kinga a part of that, and I'm excited.
Mm. So, thank you so much. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, let's let you know that I'm still figuring out all these buttons. So let's see. I love it because you're very patient with me and you always have been. Oh, here we go. Look at that. There is her website. Make sure that you get it. And check out Michelle. And if you can't get in touch with her, you know that I will definitely let you know. But please, make sure, I think our message here, make sure that you know what your options are. Always be curious. Always make sure that you're taking care of yourselves and each other. Really, you want to dig into whatever endeavor that it is, because things get messy and sticky, and we don't want anyone to be making decisions that just aren't really the best for them. Michelle, what do you think? What's your closing?
Just take care of one another, build community, and don't stop sharing what you're passionate about. It's really important for us to stand our roots and push forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you and everyone who's joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right.